right, let's jump right in. Today, we're talking about something pretty fascinating. Three generals from the American Civil War who were, for all intents and purposes, total wild cards in the fight for freedom. And I know what you're thinking when you see this. A board game? What in the world could a board game possibly have to do with the Civil War? Well, stick with me here because it actually gives us the perfect way to frame how these guys completely flipped the script.
Okay, so in this specific board game, the Underground Railroad Star game, there's this one card you really want to draw. It's the wild card. If you get it, boom, you can start your escape to freedom immediately. You get to bypass all the obstacles. It is a total game changer. And that's exactly the lens we're going to use to look at these three historical figures, these real-life wild cards.
Now, we can't just throw this wild card label around, right? There has to be some rules. To qualify, a person has to hit 4 specific marks. First, heritage dignitas. That's a deep respect for human dignity. Then, insightful wisdom. You got to be smart about it. Resourcefulness is absolutely key. And finally, you have to use your civil or political power to advance freedom. So with those rules in mind, let's see who makes the cut. First up, we've got Major General Benjamin F. Butler. And this guy's story is all about one incredibly clever and frankly brilliant legal move. It's known as the contraband strategy. So picture this. It's May 1861. A group of freedom seekers shows up at Fort Monroe, which Butler commands. Now, standard procedure might have been to send them back, but Butler, he does something completely out of left field. He declares them contraband of war. Think about that. He's basically saying, you consider these people property? Fine. You're the enemy, so we are seizing your property. It was an absolutely genius legal judo move, using the Confederacy's own twisted logic against them to protect these human beings. But wait, there's more. He didn't just stop at legal protection. Butler went even further and helped organize black troops. I mean, just imagine the sheer audacity of it. He took the very people the Confederacy saw as property and turned them into soldiers dedicated to destroying that same Confederacy. It was a powerful statement that freedom wasn't just a gift to be given, it was a force that would fight for itself. All right, our next potential wildcard is Major General John C. Frémont. You might know him by his nickname, the Pathfinder, and man, did he live up to it. He basically forged his own, very controversial path toward freedom. And this slide really shows you just how far ahead of the curve he was. Check out this timeline. We're in August of 1861. Frémont, who's in charge in Missouri, goes ahead and issues his own military order, freeing enslaved people in the state. This is more than a full year before Lincoln even issues the preliminary Emancipation Proclamation. Now, it was a huge political gamble, and President Lincoln actually had to reverse the order, but the cat was out of the bag. He had set a precedent that couldn't be ignored. And here's another thing that makes him stand out. Frémont wasn't just some bureaucrat signing papers behind a desk. No way. He was one of the first generals to actively use his soldiers as a human shield, literally protecting freedom seekers from the slave catchers who were hunting them down. He was putting his military might where his mouth was. And that brings us to our third and final general, a name that you probably know, even if you don't quite realize it yet. Meet Major General Gordon Granger, the man at the very heart of the Juneteenth story. So get this, the Emancipation Proclamation had been signed for 2.5 years, but in the far reaches of Texas, the news hadn't arrived. Enslavement was still the reality. Then, on June 19, 1865, Granger arrives in Galveston. He doesn't waste a second. He issues General Orders, number 3. This was it, the official end, and he knew how important this moment was. He didn't just tack a notice on a bulletin board. He made sure that order was read out loud, in public, for every single person to hear the words that would change their world forever. You know, his work didn't just end with that announcement. Granger got it. He understood that freedom isn't just a piece of paper. It's the start of a new life. So he backed it up with action, combining his military power with real humanitarian aid. He organized the distribution of food and supplies, helping people take those first, uncertain steps into a life of freedom. Okay, so let's circle all the way back to where we started. We've looked at Butler, Frémont, and Granger. The big question is, do they really meet our wildcard standard? Let's lay it out. Benjamin Butler and his contraband of war idea, that is the definition of resourcefulness.
John C. Frémont issuing an emancipation order way ahead of his time, that's some serious, insightful wisdom. And Gordon Granger, not just delivering the Juneteenth order, but providing aid, well, that hits heritage dignitas and the use of civil power right on the nose. So yeah, I'd say it's a perfect match.
And when you put it all together, what they really showed us is something profound. They proved that the very tools of war, the laws, the strategies, the raw power, could be flipped on their head and used as a force for freedom. And believe me, the impact of what these guys did wasn't just a blip in a history book. They left behind a legacy that we are still living with today. And you want to talk about a lasting legacy? Well, look no further. That order that General Granger read aloud in Galveston on June 19th, 1865, that is literally why we celebrate Juneteenth as a national holiday today. There's a straight line connecting his action on that day to the celebrations we all have now.
So I want to leave you with this final thought. Each of these men, in his own way, bent the rules. Some of them shattered them completely. And it really makes you think, doesn't it? When is breaking the rules not just okay, but maybe even necessary for the greater good?